Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know I'm having a great weekend now. So today's just going to be actually a really quick video. We actually got some snow over the weekend, so I wanted to show you guys how to tackle one of the common issues that you have with taking photos in the snow. Now, I know most people are going to, most of you guys probably shoot with an automatic white balance on your camera. And this is probably what you're going to see. If you use an auto white balance on your camera, then anytime you shoot in the snow, it's going to look either blue or it's going to look a little bit too yellow. So if I go here to my temperature slider and I go over here, just move this over a little bit, sometimes this is what you're going to see even shooting with an automatic white balance, because your camera doesn't really understand how to set that white balance for snow. So a couple things you can do is you can use a gray card, or you can just fix it in post. But really understanding white balance and how that works is really going to help you guys out. I shot this with an automatic white balance just because I wanted to show you guys what's going to actually happen with an auto white balance. And I also want to show you how to fix it if you guys aren't really comfortable with setting your white balance manually in the camera yet. So let's go over this real quick and just try and figure out how to fix this. So I could go back and forth with these sliders all day, and I can try and fine tune it and get it how I want. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up here to my white balance tool. I'm going to click here. And I actually made this a little bit more difficult. And the way I did that was I made her wear her white hoodie. So now not only do I have white snow I have to deal with, I also have a white hoodie that I have to deal with that's actually going to be a little bit different, or can be a little bit different in color than what the snow is. So like, let's say you did automatic white balance and it turned out, let's say, like this. Okay, you notice that there's a lot of yellow in the background here, and then there's a lot of magenta, so you got two different color casts going on. So let's go back here and click on this white balance tool. Now if I click on her shirt, everything is just going to turn yellow and green, and it's going to just look really weird. So you have to find a good white spot, a good spot to meter your white balance, and it's probably going to be here in the snow. So if I click here, yeah, see, and you could click a couple different spots and see what works best for you. I think right over here, I think that actually works really well. And you're going to notice that there's still, even though that the white balance is decent here, there's still a lot of blue in her shirt. So let's go ahead and just do our basic adjustments here. And after we get these done, after we get our basic adjustments in, you'll notice that it is clipping a little bit. It's white on white. I want it kind of as bright as I can without going too crazy. I want to make sure that there's detail still here as I go up. And you'll notice, there is still detail in her shirt. So even though we are clipping a little bit, there's still detail in there, so I'm not really too worried about it. Let me just get these how I want them, and you guys can adjust your texture and clarity how you want. I actually like a little bit more crunch, so that kind of helps add to that, adding the texture and stuff like that. And I think we're good there. We'll call that good. We'll go ahead and open this in Photoshop. And we'll hit OK here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and go to our adjustments down here at the bottom. And we're going to go to Hue Saturation. We're going to click on this hand tool, and then we're going to click and drag on the shirt. So notice how if I go all the way -100, it takes all the blue out of the image. And if you look up here, it shows that we're in the blue channel. So if I went to, the reason why I went to this hand tool is because if I go to the master channel and I pull the saturation out, it's just going to pull everything. It's just going to basically make it a black and white image. So we know what color we want to take out. And even if we didn't, by using this hand tool, it automatically picks the color. So like, let's say you didn't know if this was magenta or blue or purple or whatever. When you click there, it's going to tell you right here what color that is. That's why I really like using this hand tool. So let's go ahead and pull it back a little bit. And we'll go maybe around 60, 70%. And then we're actually going to pull the lightness up too. So I find that doing it this way, instead of pulling the saturation completely out, just pull it out a little bit, maybe to like 60 or 70, and then pulling up the lightness. Pulling up the lightness is actually going to pull some of that color out too. It just kind of gives it a more even look. So you'll notice if I turn it on and off, it actually pulled it out of the pants too. Well, we want to keep the blue in the pants. So we want to click on our mask, because this actually comes with a mask, which is great. Hit B for our brush tool. And remember, black hides and white reveals. So we're going to change our mask to black. And we're just going to brush it out of the areas that we don't want it to affect. So we want to keep the blue in the pants. So we're going to go ahead and brush right over the pants to get that blue back. And just in case there's any in the shoe here, I'll just kind of go over that too. And if there's anything else in your image that's blue that you want to keep, you're going to have to make sure that you brush over that too. So like if you have a blue sky, or if you have a blue water, or a blue car, or whatever, anything that's blue in your image, you're going to have to kind of go over just to make sure that you have that right. You have that still in there. So I may even go over the sky just a little bit, because even though it's not blue, there's a little bit of a blue tint in the sky. And if you go over, you can hit X to toggle white and paint back in, just kind of go back and forth. And I'm just going to paint some of this blue maybe back in, just in the sky. Okay. So now, if I go show you the before and after, you'll see it made quite a bit of difference, especially in her shirt here. And one other issue that we run across anytime we do something like do photos out in the cold is you'll also notice that her nose and her cheeks are a little bit red, because we were out there just a little bit long enough to to get the redness on the cheeks and the nose. So we're going to fix that in a similar way here. We're going to use a hue saturation adjustment layer again. And I'm just going to use the hand tool. And I'm just going to click once this time. So instead of clicking and dragging, I'm just going to click once just to select the reds. And then I'm going to take this hue slider and I'm going to throw it all the way over to the right. And that's going to look kind of weird, but we're going to use that to figure out, to basically just to target those red areas. So skin color, we know, lives right around in this area, and like the oranges and yellows. So we want to mask out the skin area, so we're going to pull it out of the skin. So if I take this right slider and start bringing it in, you're going to notice, like maybe right about there, it masks out most of the orange in her skin, but it leaves that red there. And then you could take this inner slider and just kind of feather that in even more and just kind of fine tune it. Just go back and forth. until you get it how you want. And then once you have your mask how you want it, you're going to change your hue back to 0. And then we're going to start slowly. Let me zoom in here a little bit. We're going to start slowly pulling it up to change that red to more of an orange skin tone. So I'm adjusting the hue. Going to the right is going to make that red more orange, and if I go to the left, notice how it makes it a little bit more red or more purple. So we're just basically all we're doing is we're trying to match the skin tone. So I think maybe around like 9, that looks pretty good. But another thing I notice is it's a little bit more saturated too. So we can actually go into the saturation and maybe pull that down just a tad. So maybe -10. And then I don't want this everywhere. If I show you before and after, notice her, you may not notice it in the video, but her lips are actually changing color too. So I'm actually going to make sure my mask is selected, hit Control or Command I to make it black, hit B for the brush tool, make sure my foreground's white, and I'm just going to brush over her nose and her cheeks to give it that more orange skin tone look and get rid of that red. This works really well for babies too, and just anybody who has like maybe red splotches or anything like that. I know sometimes babies can get a little bit jaundice in areas as well, so you would actually just move it more towards. You would take your hue slider after you grab your selection, and you would move it more towards the reds, and that would give it a little bit more of an orange color there. So, all right, so that's one way to fix those issues there. There's a million different ways you can fix those, but that's my preferred method. You'll notice my background is actually a little bit different than the default too. So if I go to my default background, it's going to be more of like a black. Now, anytime I'm working on an image that has snow or is supposed to be really bright and has any white in it, I like to toggle my background, and I actually have a custom white background. If you just go down here, just right click on your background, go to Select Custom Color, and then go all the way over up into the corner, and your new current, your new color will be white. Hit OK, and then that'll give you that white background. So what this is helping me do is it's helping me see the exposure that I need. So if I go to exposure, if I was underexposed by quite a bit, and I went to go post this on Facebook or something, Facebook has white borders everywhere. So your image is definitely not going to stick out. It's gonna look muted and gray, and it's just not going to look good. So use that white background to kind of adjust your exposure. So one thing you can do is go into levels, and notice how there's still a little bit of gray here. If you look at the background here and then the picture, it's still a little bit different. It's still a little bit gray. So I can actually just pull from the right side here in just a little bit. I know I have a little bit of blown out areas here. I'm okay with that. I just want to have some of this match this border here. And then you can do the same with your blacks. Hold Alt or Option and pull over until you start see where that black's coming in. You want to pull right before you see that black there. And then that'll kind of set your black and white points. So here's the before and after on that. And notice how it just kind of makes it pop a little bit. And then the last thing I want to do is I'm going to use a curves adjustment layer. I'm going to pull that down just like that. And I'm going to hit Control or Command I. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this gradient here, making sure that it's set from black to white. And what I want to do is I want to draw more attention to my daughter here. So I don't want this all, bright everywhere. I want to kind of darken down the bottom because right now you're just kind of looking all over the screen. So if I hold Shift to make sure my line's straight and just maybe click and drag somewhere around here, then notice that kind of darkens that bottom area and just gradually lightens once it gets up top. Okay, so there's that. And then I know I said that was the last thing I was going to do. You can also adjust the opacity here too if it's too much for you. I think maybe around 75 is good there. I know I said that was the last thing I was going to do, but I'm going to go into my selective color. And if you don't have this already, go watch my previous video on how to make your image pop, and you can actually get this action, this preset to download for free. So I'm going to go down here to my color pop, and notice when I toggle this, let me zoom in a little bit here. When I toggle this on and off, it's not doing a whole lot because there's not a ton of color in here. But what it is doing is it's adding a little bit of contrast without making it too crazy. And then it's also adding more color into the areas that I want there to be more color. So even at 100%, I'm okay with that. That actually looks pretty good. And I can actually hit Control or Command J because I want her jeans to have a little bit more color even. But I don't want her face to be super, super orange. So I'm going to hit Control or Command I, black, make sure my mask is black, hit B for the brush tool, paint with white, and I'm just going to paint over with 100% flow and opacity, super soft brush. I'm just going to paint right over her jeans and her shoes. Okay. And maybe even over her shirt, just to add a little bit more contrast there. Okay. And maybe I will actually not paint over her shirt. Just going before and after, it just kind of darkened it a little bit. I'm not really digging that too much. And you can always go in and add like dodge and burn and all that other stuff, but this was mainly just to kind of show you guys how to get rid of those weird like blue or yellow overcasts, especially when you're shooting in the snow. Alright, I think we are done, and we'll do a quick before and after. So here's before, and here's after. Alright, if you guys like this video, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And have a great rest of your weekend. Alright, see you guys in the next one.